Yeah.
Speaking of corruption, we got to talk about the grand jury indicting Alec Baldwin again, because this is a second indictment for those that haven't been following the story. Also, Alec Baldwin has been known for many things over the years, including some pretty good movies, and then also for his recent thing on SNL where he was Trump, basically. That's what people know him from. This dude is absolutely insane. And the fact that they let him go the first time was crazy to me. They should have charged him before. But the grand jury has finally come in and said that they are indicting him for the shooting.
Good.
And this is what they said. A new analysis of the gun opened the way for prosecutors to reboot the case. After dismantling an involuntary manslaughter charge last year, a new one-page indictment delivered by the grand jury Friday alleges Baldwin caused Hutchinson's death either by negligence or total disregard or indifference for safety. So that's what they're going with, is that he didn't intentionally do it, but he had disregard for safety.
Okay. Say I had a gun and it was loaded. And, I don't know how to, let's say I don't know how to handle a gun and I'm pointing it around at people, it goes off and kills someone. What would I be charged with?
Negligent homicide.
Homicide, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the fact that it was blanks in it. It's not the fact that they're saying he intentionally didn't do it. But the first question I would ask him is, why did you point the gun at her?
Yeah.
Regardless if there was blanks, regardless if it was not loaded, however you want to put it, you don't even point a cleared weapon at someone. You just don't do it.
You shouldn't be doing it.
That should be the question they ask them. Okay, well, it was blanks. I thought it was blanks. Okay, let's give you that. Blanks. There were blanks in the gun. Why did you point it at these people? They're not part of the movie. Was that the person? Why would you point it at them?
Mm-hmm. I know there's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
To that whole thing. And so here's one of the other things that you point out is that Baldwin was said to have pulled back the hammer, but not the trigger, and the weapon fired. But recent analysis of the gun used by Baldwin from Lucian and Michael Hag of Forensic Science Services in Arizona concluded that, quote, the trigger had been pulled or depressed significantly to release the fully cocked or retracted hammer of the evidence revolver. He also testified in the grand jury. Michael Hag. That's a terrible last name, by the way.
That is 2 A's.
Like Hag. Testified in the grand jury this week as a witness, according to the new indictment. So we know it's the same thing that the FBI reported. The FBI report on the agency's analysis of the gun found that, as in common with firearms of that design, it could go off without pulling the trigger if force was applied to the uncocked hammer, such as by dropping the weapon. But he didn't drop the weapon. That's the thing.
No. He pointed.
Oh man.
He pointed it.
Yeah, he pointed it. And he shot her. That's what it came down to.
Yeah, and he's gonna burn in hell for that for the rest of eternity. And good for him. Or he's probably already at Gitmo and he's part of that Epstein stuff, and they already scooped him up. Go white hats.
Right. It's really funny. Like, have you ever listened to him explain the situation, like the actual footage from the interview?
No, was he crying?
Not the interview video. I'm talking about him being interrogated after the incident happened.
Oh, I've never seen this.
Most people haven't actually seen this video. It's
like
50.
Him?
Yeah, that's him. That was right after the shooting. This is, what is it? Yeah, October of 21.
Okay, that's what I see him ask.
Yeah, right. Still COVID. Most people haven't actually seen this, and it's pretty crazy.
Unfortunate later. Yeah. I know you already agreed to talk to us and everything, and that's great. We're just gonna go over the rights. She's gonna read these to you as you understand them, and just sign an initial, and then if you read the bottom. And
my only question is, am I being charged with something?
No, we're just reviewing.
I don't. That's what I'm not worried because I'm not. Yeah.
We have to do our job at.
Yeah, no, just tell me that.
He's not worried yet. Hindsight, man. Hindsight.
Now, you have to be a narcissistic psychopath, whatever you want to put a
Mhm.
label on, to sit there in that room in no type of remorse, zero, whether it was an accident, however they
Mhm.
want to play it up, no remorse.
He doesn't even sound shaken up about it. Like,
No,
not in the least bit, dude.
I
Like,
would literally be shaken up if I accidentally took someone's life like that.
yeah,
I would be in there like, oh my god, he's not even flinching, just
because
like, oh yeah,
there's a difference
not being
between
charged.
there's a difference between intentional and unintentional. When you mess up that bad where you hurt somebody, the amount of unforgiving like guilt
Mm-hmm.
affects you.
It does.
He doesn't show unforgiving guilt, in my opinion.
You're
Right,
right,
listen to his
because
voice.
is that investigation.
Yeah.
It's just a formality. You have to do it, you're here,
You
and
do what you
appreciate
do
it.
whatever you want to do.
Don't appreciate him
What
because
is
he's
it?
famous.
It is
Yeah.
When you shoot,
Okay, so
You don't
here's the
fire.
beginning of it.
camera, you want to see into there is a cosmetic.
Because I was trying to get to the beginning where he was actually explaining. So here it is.
Well, what's interesting, not to digress on some commentary here, is that we've done this for 2 weeks and we did it the right way every day. Every day. You're on a set, you rehearse, they bring you what's called a cold gun. The gun is either completely empty, the chambers, or there is a cosmetic piece. So for example, if you're the camera, and this is going to sound silly and specific, but if I'm pointing a gun close to the camera, you want to see into the cylinder that there's material in there, cosmetic material. So those rounds are cosmetic rounds.
Right.
They put them in, and you rehearse, or even in a shot when you don't fire.
Mhm.
I pull the gun, and you see there's some material inside the cylinder. They'd hand me a cold gun, no charges. They always hand you a cold gun with nothing in it to rehearse. And then, when you shoot, and if you are shooting loads that are flash loads, and they're usually in 3 denominations, quarter, half, or full load rounds, so that the flash is bright, and the sound is loud, louder, loudest. Full load is loudest. So if you're outside, you want a full load, bang, you want a loud sound. If you're inside, you can do a quarter load. Right before you shoot, everyone preps, crew puts the earplugs in, some puts headphones on.
Come on,
Camera's
dude.
there, very open, there's a loose, tight screen. But you're the camera operator, and there's the camera, so I should always shoot off camera. You never shoot into the lens. And you shoot, and there's a flash and a sound.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I went to lunch. She disarmed me. I sat down.
She being,
Hannah, the armaments person. She was always handling the guns.
Which they are throwing under the bus, by the way, right now. Yep. Had you muted. Which is nuts. They're throwing her underneath the bus.
Oh, of course.
And she was like one of the only other people charged, too, at this point.
Of course. I mean, it's crazy to me that there's no type of emotion with this guy.
Mm-mm.
No care in the world. No care that he took someone's mother, daughter, and that he took a life. It's just like, hey, we rehearsed this and da 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 da.
It's like any other day, like of the week, like for him. That's what he
Yeah.
sounds like. Like it doesn't seem very, how do you put it? Connecting, emotional. Like I can't connect with him being like this was an accident. Like he sounds too like not too professional, just too cold. That's my issue.
99% of the time. So I would, if I had a cosmetic rifle with no rounds, I would hand it to one of her assistants. I'm sitting there, she disarms me, we go to lunch, we come back from lunch, and they hand me the revolver, the Colt.
and I just like the name, it's Hannah again.
They arm me,
Okay.
and you're assuming, as we've done every time, that it's a cold gun for the rehearsal. And I put the gag in the shot, you're the camera, because I have a coat, and I have a holster, and I pull the coat over, and I kind of cup my hands like I folded my hands. And then I'm going to slowly sneak the revolver, the Colt out, and turn and shoot these other guys, or try to shoot them. I take the coat over the thing, the camera's there. I believe, my recollection is she was there, turned a bit, like talking to him. So I think she was hit in the right armpit. But this is all I know, and that is that I take the gun out in the rehearsal. Really, he wanted very dramatic and very slow, I'm trying to sneak up on them. I take the gun out, and as it clears, as the barrel clears the hole, turn and cock the gun in rehearsal. I turn and cock the gun goes off.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a cold gun. Nothing No flash charges, nothing. Now, this is a puzzle to me, and this is making me very emotional now, you know, but
Does he sound in the least bit emotional to you?
No, and one thing people have to understand, what is he?
He's an actor.
He's an actor. They can put on an act real
But
good.
he could at least act.
Yeah,
Just like that.
they're really
He's
good
an
at what
actor, he
they
should
do.
act.
Well, some of them are,
Yeah.
but he's an actor. That's how you have to, when you're listening to him, he's acting.
It's insane. Like he also doesn't mention the fact that they had been fighting up until this point as well. And this guy has been arrested and has been known to be a complete hothead.
Yes, he is a hothead.
in my
He's
time,
many
and I'm
times.
older now, but when I was younger and I was shooting guns and films, I've never seen a theatrical flash round where the material went through someone's armpit, came out their body, and hit somebody else in the shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if your department is prepared to go find out what comes out of his shoulder surgically. Is that a live round?
That's what we are actually looking
Is that a
at.
live, because it doesn't make any sense otherwise.
Which he did have live rounds on
Mhm.
his thing. He's going off the fact of saying thinking it was a blank, which it wasn't. It was a live round. We know it was a live round now, but he didn't have, according to him at this time, he didn't know.
Didn't the same thing happen to Brandon?
Yeah, Brandon Lee. That's what
Brandon Lee.
got him too.
Yep.
Yeah.
It hits her in the armpit, comes out her shoulder, goes into his shoulder, and he just told me on the phone, I talked to Joe. He said, they showed me the x-ray, and the shape of the thing in my shoulder is the shape of a bullet.
Because you
Now,
got shot.
All the rounds, I was told, you need to verify, I think this is important, they take the gun, they enter, and all the rounds that are in there were either dummy rounds, no flash, cold rounds, or rounds with a flash. In the rehearsal, there should have been nothing. It should have been a cold gun with no rounds inside or dummy rounds. 'Cause
Yeah, this is him setting up the armor for the entire thing. Even though circumstantially he was found with live rounds on his gun belt. And he was talking about putting it behind a coat and then pulling it out and doing a thing, right? So there's plenty of ways he could have snuck a round just based off of his testimony into that gun. Even if he was handed a cold gun, there is still a possibility he could have put a live round himself in that gun. He's also spoke about and testifying in front of these officers that he has experience shooting weapons as he was younger. You heard that, right? He said he had when he was younger. So he should know the general idea of gun safety. Even if it's a cold gun, he should not have, or any point, pointed at anybody on that set. And he has decades of experience of shooting on set. And he knows the effing rules.
And what's the one thing, if we were at a range and you were like, hey, bro, hey, Mike, let me shoot your pistol. And I hand you my pistol. What's the one thing I would do before I hand it to you?
Yeah, you would make sure it's clear, and then you'd hand it to me. I would look at it, say it's clear, and then send it back.
That's right. Now, do I load your rounds for you, or do you load your own?
No, I load my own rounds.
Okay.
You would hand the gun to me separately. You would eject if there was a round, make sure the magazine was released. There's no round in the chamber. Hand me the magazine, hand me the gun, and I load it myself. That's what I'm doing, because that's how you handle it.
So him trying to put on the armor, he's saying that the armor handed him a weapon that was possibly hot, and he didn't even check himself. He just took it like, okay, but he's handled weapons
willy-nilly. He took it,
He's handled guns his whole life as a kid, or as he says.
Yeah, he had handled it forever. So, and here, I want you to contrast what happened right after with the interview, the only other interview he did, by the way, on this topic, because he just disappeared after this. Because nobody believed it after this came out. That's the reason why he disappeared. But this is the interview that happened right after that. And I want you to listen to what he says.
There was a charge in there, and cold gun meant there was nothing in there. When he's saying this is a cold gun, what he's saying to everybody on the set is you can relax. The gun is empty.
That is wrong. You shouldn't relax regardless as if somebody hands you a cold gun. That is disregard for safety. Hence the reason why negligent homicide makes sense.
That's what cold gun means.
Well, cold gun means there's no charge in there. There could be dummy rounds.
A dummy round looks like a real bullet, but is completely inert. It contains no explosive charge. And you were rehearsing that scene. Was it an actual rehearsal? There's some disagreement about that, whether it was a formal rehearsal at that time?
This is a marking rehearsal. She's got a monitor here. The camera is here filming that way. She's guiding me through how she wants me to hold the gun for this angle. And I draw the gun out and I find a mark. I draw the gun out, I find a cut. And what's really urgent is the gun wasn't meant to be fired in that angle.
So if you're shooting directly into the camera lens, you're not aiming.
I'm not
at her.
shooting into the camera lens. I'm shooting just off.
Just off.
Right, in her direction.
In her direction.
I'm holding the gun where she told me to hold it, which ended up being aimed right in below her armpit, was what I was told. I don't know. This was a completely incidental shot, an angle
that he doesn't know. Like, he didn't even like the reports on the set. He didn't even care that something happened. Like, there were 2 people down and hurt and bleeding, and he didn't care, and he just like walked off.
Of course, he doesn't care because he's entitled.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
that may not have ended up in the film at all. But we kept doing this, and so then I said to her, now in this scene, I'm going to cock the gun. And I said, do you want to see that? And she said, yes. So I take the gun and I start to cock the gun. I'm not going to pull the trigger. I said, do you see that? She goes, well, just cheat it down and tilt it down a little bit like that. And I cock the gun. I go, can you see that? Can you see that? Can you see that? And she says, and then I let go of the hammer of the gun and the gun goes off. I let go of the hammer of the gun and the gun goes off.
At the moment, the decisive
That was the moment the gun went off, yeah.
That's what he says.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not possible because the gun didn't do that. It stayed in a locked position, and they had to break the gun in order to actually do that.
He's an
So,
actor.
yeah.
Was the moment the gun went off.
It wasn't in the script for the trigger to be pulled.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them. Never. That.
But you did, because that's what the evidence is showing. That's why you were indicted, is that you did, in fact, pull the trigger, because the only way that gun could have gone off is if you pulled the trigger.
Exactly.
Was the training that I had. You don't point a gun at me and pull the trigger. Helena and I had something profound in common, and that is we both assumed the gun was empty. Other than those, dummy rounds, I let go of the hammer, bang, the gun goes off. Well, everyone is horrified.
Yeah, no, I don't believe you. I don't believe you one bit. Like I said, even in that interview right after it happened and now, he was completely measured and composed. Not a single time has he showed an emotion, except for the one time, I think, in the interview. I don't know if it's in this interview. It was a different interview. Yeah, here it is. Okay.
What is the difference between a dummy round and a blank round?
The dummy rounds are like, the training rounds. The inert
Oh,
rounds
I
that
know.
make-
I know what they are, but
Okay.
for
yeah,
the
yeah.
audience.
Okay, so the difference between a blank round is a blank round actually has a bit of powder in it to make it flash, and then a dummy round is a completely solid round. Inert round is a training round you put in there so that it doesn't damage the mechanisms of the gun when you're dry
Yes.
dry loading. Yeah.
Now, is there a difference between a blank round and a live round?
Yes.
And the way they look, right? They
Yeah.
look like
There's no way to fuck that up.
Yeah, there's no way you can mix up a live round with a blank. Now, the only time that happens is when we're doing live training exercises, when we go from a blank fire to a live fire, and if somebody's not loading, doing it correctly,
Which
checking
is
their
what
ammo.
they're assuming they did, because they were doing live fire with those guns multiple times during that shoot. Is what they're alleging, and that's why it's the armorer's fault. It's not my fault. It's the armorer's fault, right? That's what they're going with. But anyway,
See, a keen eye would have caught that. We would have caught that.
Yeah, we would have known that. Like,
There's
even if somebody gives me a gun and said, "Hey, it's cold," I'm still gonna check it.
Yes.
That's the most simple safety precaution
every
you can
single
take.
time. Every time.
Sousa
There's
is
never been
also
a time
wounded.
I didn't.
Yeah, every single time.
Yeah.
His shoulder hit by the same bullet that traveled through Helena.
She was someone who was loved by everyone who worked with and liked by everyone who worked with and admired.
I think, yeah. Look at that.
Oh,
Look at
look,
that. That
look,
is the
look.
only time you ever see this man show any remorse or compassion, ever.
It doesn't look
Like,
real.
not when he was being interrogated, not when he was getting this interview, but when he is doing the fake cry, because that
Yeah,
is the most fake
That's
ass
fake.
thing I've ever seen in my life. Right
That's
there.
fake. He's an actor.
That is so insane to me.
Wow.
This guy. So I mean, you take it with a grain of salt. You decide what you want to say about it. This guy's faking it. Absolutely.
It's
faking it.
embarrassing.